My name is Luna. I've been married for 3 years and my husband's name is Lucas. We used to live together when we were dating, but after getting married, we started living with my husband's father. This was because my husband's workplace was nearby. I continued working even after getting married, but I quit my job due to certain circumstances. That is because my husband's father needed care. My husband's father started showing signs of dementia about a year and a half ago, and the disease gradually progressed, requiring care. At first, we thought about putting him into a nursing home, but I ended up taking care at home due to my husband's wish.
Luna, I beg you, I'll help with the care on my days off. I don't want to put my dad into a nursing home.
I understand, but I've only been here for 2 years, and I don't think your father wants me to take care of him that much, so please support me as much as possible. I had never seen my husband plead like this, so I believed he would help me with the care. But when I actually started nursing, I noticed things that I didn't even imagine. Problems such as steps, toilet, and bath at home. My father-in-law could still walk, so he was walking around the house, but he would stumble on steps and fall in the toilet because he couldn't support himself. Because of this, I discussed with my husband and decided to remodel the house. We would still be in debt, but we thought the safety of my father-in-law was more important than money. For the first month after the renovation, my husband took the lead in nursing. However, as time passed, my husband stopped taking care of his father, citing his work as a reason. And by the time a year had passed since we started his care, my husband stopped helping at all and even started going out on his day off. My father-in-law's condition kept getting worse, and I needed to help him with toileting and bathing. Finally, it was too difficult for me to continue nursing alone, and I decided to discuss it with my husband. You said you would help, didn't you? When was the last time you helped? How many months ago? He is certified as needing care, and I can't handle all by myself anymore. I'm not experienced. Realistically, I think it would be better to consider admission to a nursing home rather than home care.
That's cruel. We decided to provide home care, and we should take care of him until the end.
Then at the very least, I think we should ask professional caregivers. Your father needs assistance and is certified for it. We should be able to ask for help. I'm not physically strong enough, and I would like to leave certain tasks such as bathing to the professionals. In response to my suggestion, my husband didn't agree and went out before the conversation was over. Recently, I've noticed that he seems to be worried about money. However, it was difficult for me to continue caregiving alone, so without my husband's consent, I started to process for home care services. His father was certified as requiring care level 3, so it was arranged for a caregiver to come about 5 times a week for about an hour a day. A plan was also created within the scope of long-term care insurance, so I wasn't worried about the cost. However, a problem occurred on the first day of home care services. Nice to meet you. My name is Mira, a caregiver. I look forward to working with you from now on. Nice to meet you too. I'm looking forward to working with you. While the caregiver talked to my father-in-law, she taught me about the method of nursing care. I learned a lot from her and felt good about the decision to hire her. However, my husband, who had been out, came home and...
Luna, I didn't give permission for home care services. What is this all about?
He vented his anger on me. But I've already told you that I'm at my limit with caregiving on my own.
I didn't give any permission. Excuse me, Miss Caregiver. Please go home today.
Even it was still within the time for home care services, he didn't listen to my attempt to stop him and sent the caregiver away. Why did you proceed with home care services without my permission? I'm the one who makes the decision here. You are an awful wife, not listening to what I say. As for caregiving, you can do it by all yourself. Don't waste money. We also have the loan for the renovation to pay back. Why won't you understand what I'm saying? I've told you multiple times that it's impossible for me to do it all by myself, Lucas. You've stopped helping with the caregiving, right? This isn't keeping your promise. Besides, the renovation was necessary. If your father falls and gets injured, caregiving will become even more difficult. You might not understand because you are not doing any. You've been caregiving for over a year now. What are you talking about all of a sudden? Plus, you are not working, so it's natural for you to take care of it, right? Who do you think is paying back the loan for the renovation? No matter how much I talked, my husband didn't understand. He actually believes that it's only natural for me to do everything by myself. After that incident, I only received home care when my husband was at work. Being able to talk to the caregiver, not only about care but also about the problems with my husband, and giving advice was a great help. After several months of this situation, one day, my husband suddenly offered to provide care himself. You haven't been out properly for over a year now. Go get your haircut, go shopping, or something. I'll take care of him all day today. I gratefully accepted my husband's offer. I got a haircut for the first time in a long time, and then spent time sipping tea at a cafe I used to like. After spending about 4 hours alone, I felt uneasy, leaving the care to my inexperienced husband, so I decided to go home early. When I returned home, it was too quiet. My father-in-law was sleeping peacefully in his room. Thinking that my husband must be asleep from exhaustion too, I went to the bedroom, but he was not there. As I searched the house, I found an envelope placed on the dining table. When I opened the envelope, it contained a filled-out divorce paper and a letter. The content of the letter was, "Let's divorce, even after the divorce. Luna, please take care of my dad. I'm going on a trip for a week, so please submit the divorce paper when I am on my way." That's what it said. I realized that his unusual offer to care was to kick me out so he could prepare for his trip. The fact that my husband had prepared the divorce papers in advance was honestly a surprise. Moreover, he wanted to impose the care of his father on me even after the divorce. I had no idea what my husband was thinking. I couldn't understand it at all, so I called my husband. "Lucas, I saw what was in the letter. There was also a divorce paper. What are you thinking? A trip abroad with who?" "I'm waiting to board a plane now. I'm busy, not like you, Luna. It doesn't matter who I travel with anymore. We are getting divorced. Please make sure to submit the divorce paper by the time I return from my trip. That's it." My husband one-sidedly ended the conversation and hung up. Just before the call was cut off, I heard a woman's voice calling my husband's name on the other end. It seemed my husband was with a woman he was going on an overseas trip with. We had only been married for 3 years, and I thought that my husband was having an affair. As I pondered about how he might have been fooling around with another woman while my mind was consumed by caregiving, tears of regret welled up in my eyes. "Luna," upon hearing my father-in-law's voice calling out to me as I wept. Recently he had been struggling to remember my name, but today, for the first time in a long while, he called it out. I had been worried whether my husband had really taken care of him while I was away, so I went to see him immediately. "Father, are you okay? Was everything okay while I was out?" "Ah, Luna, is the caregiver coming today?" Today, my father-in-law seemed quite fine and capable of having a coherent conversation.
Can dementia actually get better?
She's not coming today. She'll be here tomorrow morning.
I see. Then could you bring me some paper and a pen?
My father-in-law, who was virtually unable to write anymore, was unusually fine today and seemed different from usual. I had heard that writing could help alleviate or prevent the symptom of dementia, so I decided to let him do what he enjoyed. I handed him some paper and a pen, and he began to write something. However, I couldn't see what he was writing. When he finished writing, he put the paper in an envelope and handed it to me. Give this to the caregiver when she comes tomorrow. After telling me this, my father-in-law went back to sleep. Was this some sort of dementia training exercise with Mira? Although I was curious about the contents of the letter, I decided not to see. A few hours later, when my father-in-law woke up, he seemed to have completely forgotten about what had happened earlier, and he couldn't even remember my name. I wondered what on earth had happened. That night, after my father-in-law had gone to sleep, I found myself deep in thought as I went through the letter and divorce papers from my husband again. Looking back on my husband's behavior, I realized there may have been several suspicious actions. As I had only talked about caregiving with him, I hadn't paid attention to what was happening with him personally, and I had missed even the smallest signs. If my husband was indeed cheating, part of me wanted to get a divorce as soon as possible and leave, but I couldn't do that considering my father-in-law. Plus, I had been unable to work while taking care of him, so I was worried about not having enough money to live on my own if I got divorced. As the morning dawned, I still hadn't come to a conclusion. Mira came by in the morning. After briefly greeting her, I handed her the letter I had received from my father-in-law yesterday. Upon reading the letter, Mira, the caregiver, approached me with a troubled look. As a caregiver, I am here to help, but I also consider you as a friend, Luna. Cases like those are more common than you'd think. I am here to help. Could it be that the letter is about me getting a divorce? Yes, it seems that Mr. Henry noticed something was off about you and informed me. He wrote in the letter asking me to help in his stead. There's more written in the letter, but I'll explain that later. Since we have limited time before your husband comes home, let's take immediate action. Saying so, Mira called another caregiver and asked them to take over Mr. Henry's care. Alright, let's go. I followed Mira, and we ended up at a law firm. Mira, why are we here? You'll understand once we are inside. Even though I didn't understand, I decided to follow Mira. Thank you for coming today. I'd like to discuss a request I received from Mr. Henry, primarily regarding the matter of gifting property during one's lifetime to you, Luna. The lawyer handed me a document as he said yes. It was a notarized document. Mr. Henry had requested the lawyer to prepare this document by Mia. It stated that Mr. Henry would gift me $36,000 and his apartment during his lifetime. Stunned by this, Mira began to explain. On the first day of my home visit, Mr. Henry first brought up this matter. He expressed his gratitude towards you, Luna, but as you weren't adopted by him, he was unable to pass his assets on to you. Hence, he wanted to make a lifetime gift. I'm grateful. I need to express my gratitude to my father-in-law right away. Before we go back, there's one more place we need to stop by. After following Mira and making one more stop, we returned home. After I got home and expressed my deep gratitude to my father-in-law, He didn't seem to understand, but I kept expressing my gratitude. My father-in-law passed away 3 days later. It was a complication caused by his deteriorating dementia. I called my husband, who was traveling abroad, but perhaps thinking it was about the divorce, he did not answer the phone. With no other choice, Mila, who had come to help, and I proceeded with the preparations. Amidst the gathering of relatives, my husband, the biological son of my father-in-law, not being there seemed to be a source of dissatisfaction for them. 2 days later, my husband came home obviously knowing nothing and was immediately interrogated by all the relatives. Of course, since I had also informed the relatives about my husband's infidelity, they were furious. "Hey, help me out here. I swear, I'm not having an affair. I was just on vacation for a change of pace after doing caregiving every day." You can't lie twice. Even if you say you were doing caregiving, there wouldn't be such a fact, right? I know a fact that you went on that vacation with your mistress. You two were caught on the airport security camera, acting like lovers. After I said that, my husband seemed to give up and silently accepted the harsh words from the relatives. Several days later, once things had calmed down, I filed for divorce. I planned to move to the apartment my father-in-law had gifted me before he passed away. As I was making preparations for that, my husband called. "Luna, where are you? The beneficiary of that life insurance isn't me, it's you. All I was supposed to get was his life insurance. What are you going to do about this? What did you tell my dad while caring for him? You and that female home helper seemed cross. You two should have been planned this together." "It was your father's wish. Home helper Mira simply acted in accordance with his wishes. Oh yes, we are divorced, and I think you and your mistress will receive a notice from the lawyer soon. Please make sure to pay the consolation money." "What do you mean we were divorced?" "That's right. Since you got my dad's life insurance, you can just consider that as a consolation money, right? So I don't have to pay anything." It seemed he had forgotten that he had left me the divorce papers to submit before he left for his overseas trip. I was also taken back by his way of thinking. "The divorce paper was left by you with a letter asking me to submit them, wasn't it? Also, the life insurance is a precious thing I inherited from your father, not something I got from you. You should bear the cost of the consolation money." At my words, my husband was speechless and remained silent. Realizing that we weren't getting anywhere, I decided to hang up. Even after that, he called several times, but following Mira's advice, I changed my phone number. I still see Mira occasionally, even after my father-in-law passed away. She did more for my father-in-law and me than my real family, my husband. I am truly grateful to Mira. After a while, it seemed that the notice had reached my husband and his mistress, and I received a call from the mistress's lawyer. "I went on a trip because I heard from Lucas that you were divorced. Even though I was unaware of the circumstances, I sincerely apologize for going on a trip when Lucas' father was having a hard time. I've already paid the compensation. I don't plan to meet Lucas anymore." That was how it was. I was expecting a refusal to pay the compensation, so I was surprised. I wonder why a reasonable person like her could have fallen for a man like my husband. Meanwhile, my husband ended up having to pay the compensation in installments. It seems Alia was quite wealthy, and my husband, trying to keep up with her, spent nearly all his savings. Plus, I heard he even paid for the trip in a show-offy manner. Whether or not he exhausts his savings doesn't concern me. I intend to have him pay the full compensation even if it takes time. Since the family home was in my father-in-law's name, he won't have problems finding a place to stay. However, as there are remaining payments for the house renovation loan for elder care, it will likely be quite a burden in combination with the compensation each month. Even if it's deducted from my husband's salary, I don't think he'll have much money left to spend. It's known by all our relatives, so he can't ask for help either. I hope he reflects on his actions. I've moved to the apartment that my father-in-law gave me as a lifetime gift, and I'm living a comfortable life. I'm using the money I inherited from my father-in-law to study for a caregiving certificate. Mira is also helping me. Not only do I want to be a caregiver, but I also want to become a caregiver like Mira, who can support families.